Hey everybody, welcome to the Dex where we cover trivia and strategy for a different Pokemon each week. I'm Pokekells and this is Boss Trainer Alex.
Yeah. And that's gonna be a pretty hefty job, if you know what I mean.
Hello, we are trying to do an episode here. What are you doing?
I know. I'm just finishing up this meeting with the contractors. They're building my new HQ.
Your new HQ? What are you talking about?
You haven't seen it? Jimmy, cut to a pic so she can see.
That's it? That huge building?
Pretty cool, right?
I guess, but you think you might be compensating for something?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I am.
Compensate for something? What do you mean?
It's Empoleon.
Seriously, what are you talking about? What do you mean? What am I compensating for?
Alright, Empoleon. Empoleon is the Emperor Pokemon from Gen 4, no surprises there, and it's the final evolution of the starter line featuring Piplup and Prinplup, who really have no business having such similar names, let's be honest.
Right? I always have to check and make sure I'm saying the right one. Anyway, Empoleon is also the only water steel type Pokemon. It can swim as fast as a jet boat, and it can slash through ice flows with its scary sharp wings.
Yeah, and that's not all that's sharp. Its trident head crest is reminiscent of Poseidon, ruler of the seas, and that step's not by accident. In nature, those crests give Empoleon its status, and whomever has the biggest one straight up gets to be the leader just like that. Bang, nice crest. Leader.
Yeah, and you shouldn't cross that leader either, trust me. Empoleon's whole thing is that it's super prideful, and while it's usually a peaceful type who avoids unnecessary disputes, it will literally do whatever it takes to defend its honor, even if it means taking those wings out for a spin, if you know what I mean.
Because of its name, some people will tell you it's based off the Emperor Penguin, and because of its crest, people say it's based off the Royal Penguin. And while it does resemble both of these animals, I beg you instead to consider the Northern Rockhopper Penguin, who not only has a big yellow crest, but also strikes with its wings when fighting, and most importantly, comes from the main island in the Tristan da Cunha archipelago in the Atlantic Ocean.
What? Why that penguin? What's so special about a tiny little island?
Well, these islands are the most remote inhabited archipelago in the world and are part of a British overseas territory too, but the reason I think Empoleon has ties to this place is that another island in the chain, St. Helena, is the exiled home of the main namesake, Mr. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Napoleon Bonaparte? Like, Napoleon?
Yeah.
Like, the actual Napoleon?
Yes! Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another Fake Monsters, Real History.
Like, the Napoleon. Well, as far as I know, Napoleon was a very famous general who ruled as the Emperor of France from 1804 to 1814 and again in 1815. He built an empire that dominated Europe for over a decade and was responsible for many aspects of world culture that still exist today. But he remains a controversial figure because he was overly aggressive and prideful, which led to needless deaths and a loss of status for France in his wake. So, what does it have to do with a big scary penguin?
Well, most people will tell you that Napoleon was a very prideful man and that his entire bid for power was actually just him compensating for his small stature. So much so that people trying to compensate for their height are often said to have a Napoleon complex. But this is actually pretty inaccurate.
That's actually true. Historians today now believe that Napoleon was actually much closer to 5'7" in height, and not only is that exactly the same height Empoleon happens to be, but the real story of Napoleon's pride is much more interesting, and we're totally gonna tell you about it.
Back when he was trying to take over Europe, Napoleon imposed a trade blockade on Great Britain, but it kept getting undermined by Russia, who continued to do business with them anyway. And eventually, Napoleon had enough. He amassed pretty much the biggest army ever, and then even though it was a really bad idea, he took them and invaded Russia in the dead of winter in 1812.
He lost after only a few months, but over the next 2 years, he kept fighting and fighting all over Europe despite losing huge amounts of troops, depleting his supply lines, and losing much popular support until Paris finally fell and he was abdicated and exiled to a place called Elba in 1814.
But too prideful to admit defeat, Napoleon came back to France, rallied some troops, and took over again for 3 months until his army was absolutely trashed at Waterloo. ABBA has a song about it. Thank you to Napoleon, I guess, because I love that song. Waterloo! I was defeated, Empoleon!
Yep, Pierce Brosnan even kind of dressed like Empoleon in the movie. But this time Napoleon was exiled to good old St. Helena. But he wouldn't go down without a fight, and between dictating his memoirs and watching his follower base slowly dwindle, he continued to regularly quarrel with the governor until he died 6 years later, either from stomach cancer or because he got poisoned by someone who finally got tired of his crap.
So yeah, Empoleon's based off Napoleon, who is not that short, and the penguins who were his next door neighbors. Feels good, right?
It does, man. See, Yet again, Game Freak has taken something simple and their meticulous attention to detail has escalated it into something truly unexpected and totally interesting. It's tight, man!
It really is, but you know what's even tighter?
Gen 7 Empoleon battle strategy? Can you even get Empoleon in Gen 7 right now?
No, but why let that stop us from dreaming? This one's for you, Pokebank.
All right, cool, let's do it!
Yeah, Pokemon!
Empoleon's typing is absolutely amazing since it resists a full 10 types, but even more interesting is his ability Defiant, which fits really well into a doubles meta like the one we have now, and that's filled to the brim with Intimidate and Snarl users that'll just boost Empoleon's attack to devastating levels. Start with the Brave one, EV train it fully in attack with a bunch of defense and a little in special defense too.
Also, it's important to remember to make sure that Empoleon's got absolutely the lowest speed it can possibly have since we're building it for a team that uses Trick Room. Plus, it's already got all those resistances, so why not turn its bulk up to 11 with an Assault Vest to boot?
The plan is to switch in on an Intimidate and soak up as many debuffs as possible until your attack is crazy high, so stack Empoleon with crazy strong stab moves like Waterfall and Steel Wing to be as threatening as possible right at the gate.
Your bulk should also allow you to run knockoff pretty much in the same way Alolan Muck does, where it can take the hit in order to severely handicap your opponent. And if you really want to be annoying, toss Rock Slide in there too so you can hit both enemies and maybe even get a flinch out of it.
And honestly, that's really it. A big, bulky Trick Room damage dealer who can set up an attack in the same turn. But of course, that's not the only way to train an Empoleon, so as always, here are a few random thoughts.
Empoleon also has Earthquake if you're not worried about flying types, and you want to switch out Rock Slide for something with a little more oomph. Just a little food for thought.
Or, if pesky fighting types got you down, why not swap in Drill Peck? It's pretty crazy Empoleon even has the move, so why not toss it in your set and have a little fun with it?
And finally, sometimes you might just need that little extra bit of damage to pull out a win, and if Trick Room alone is too risky, why not run a little priority Aqua Jet on the side too? Just saying.
Anyway guys, that's it for us. Thanks for watching and learning that even though Napoleon wasn't that short after all, his unwillingness to lose still made for a pretty dope Gen 4 starter.
Right? And a big thank you to those Patreon supporters over here for making all this possible, and for our awesome Discord, which you can join using the link in the description to meet some new awesome like-minded Pokefans.
Be sure to leave a like or a comment before you leave, and if you still want some more Pokemon-y goodness, we'll toss some sick links up for you in just a second, too. I'm Boss Trainer Alex.
And I'm Pokekells. Tune in next week for another bodacious episode of
The Dex.